Hello everybody, and welcome back to my own digital hellscape of the internet, known as YouTube. Today we're going to be covering some funny video game internet stories from a beloved franchise that for the most part, I enjoy very fondly of. What would that be other than Fallout? So sit back, relax, and I guess get your Radaway prepared because these are going to be quite interesting. Most people know the glitch to access the Citadel early in the game, but I found something rather intriguing this time. I had always experienced odd happenings while activating this glitch, but nothing like this. As usual, I went to the top of the rubble pile. I fell through and made my trek through the empty space to the Citadel entrance to get into the building. I noticed from a distance 3 large poles sticking up from the ground, but couldn't see them well enough until I got closer. I got closer to find 3 crosses. If you've ever played Fallout New Vegas, you'll know what I'm talking about. They were similar to the crosses used by Caesar's Legion, but clearly the work of raiders instead of a more organized group like the Legion. The crosses were covered in gore and blood, organs hanging all over them. There were 3 people crucified: Elder Lyons, Star Paladin Cross, and Sarah Lyons. They were still alive, but barely. I first talked to Sarah. I wrote down what she said.
What the hell have you done? You brought them right to us. It was a slaughter. The knights, the scribes, the initiates, all dead. You son of a bitch.
Then she coughed up some blood and died. Then I went to Star Paladin Cross.
I can't believe you. Working with raiders? Why? We were going to fix the wasteland. Don't you remember what your father did for you? He was trying to help you. Help us. And you do this? Say goodbye to any hopes of civilization in this hell.
She did the same animation as Sarah and died. Finally, I went to Lyons. This was the worst.
James loved you. He abandoned all of his work for you. He took you to the vault because you would be safer. I guess he didn't realize that in the end. The wasteland was the one made safer with you in the vault. There's nothing stopping the raiders from destroying the entire capital wasteland now. I hope you're happy.
Instead of the death animation of the other 2, his head exploded. It cut back to first person where 3 raiders attacked. Their health wouldn't go down, and that just fired away at my body, blowing away my limbs. A cutscene followed. It showed raiders breaking into Megaton first, with shots of the sheriff, Moira, Walter, Billy, Jericho, and Moriarty being slaughtered, followed by an aerial view of the town blowing up. Then it showed Tenpenny Tower. Raiders charged the doors, ran in, and a violent scene ensued of all the residents being hacked to pieces with Chinese swords. Big Town was flooded with raiders. The buildings were on fire, and the women were being... I'm not saying that. Underworld was cleared out with flamethrowers. Rivet City was crawling with raiders swimming up to the hull and climbing over the edges, cutting everyone apart and shooting their dead bodies. It faded to black. The narrator's voice came across saying the old phrase, War never changes. Took me back to the main menu. When I went to load my game, started back over at the birth scene, the vault dweller being born, but the conversation was slightly different. Instead of James asking whether it was a boy or a girl, this conversation occurred.
Kill it.
What? What the hell is wrong with you, James?
I said kill it. It's gonna be the death of us all.
Get James out of here.
James then grabs a scalpel and stabs the baby to death, the screen slowly going dark. I turned the game off and on again, but all my saves were gone. It played normally after that. I have no idea what it was that triggered this. What do I give Fallout 3 Citadel Crucified Knights as a rating? 3 out of 10. Most certainly due to the fact that a term was used to describe what is happening to a person was just simply unneeded, but also the fact of which is that certain story elements, or most story elements in this story itself, were forced and rushed to the point that as quickly as they come, as quickly as they go. And most certainly, it just simply wasn't that good after fully finishing reading it. While an interesting idea, it just wasn't executed at all to begin with. I loved Todd Howard. He was my waifu. I also accepted him as my god. However, one fateful day would change all that. The email. I came home after a long day of college, expecting to see my mother and father there. To my surprise, they weren't. So I had the house all to myself. The first thing I did was check on my dad's computer to see where he kept all his porn. Seriously? Who the fuck downloads porn these days? Fucking plebs. Secondly, I checked my Hotmail. I almost came as soon as I saw the mail. It was from Todd Howard. He was offering me a Fallout 4 Super Deluxe Ultra Expensive as Fuck Edition for free. Even though the email did seem almost too good to be true, I accepted it anyways, since it was from my lord, Todd Howard. It arrives. Finally, it was here. I could feel myself getting hard when I saw the nice box that it came in. I immediately ran to the basement to load it up on my Oya. That's when I noticed the first odd thing. It took 48 hours to install. That meant I had to go to kindergarten for 2 days without spending my time on more important things first, like playing this game. After those 2 torturous days, I finally got to play. I thanked the Todd Howard gods before playing. The first session. When I got to the character creation screen, I knew what to do. I had to make my character look like the so-called Lord Gaben. I needed to make sure that he knew his place. I needed to make sure he was only a pawn to Todd Howard, meant to be controlled and played like I would do in Fallout 4. I also made sure to name my character Lollies Forever, since I want more people to appreciate lollies and teach them that it's perfectly okay to be sexually attracted to them. I'm gonna stop you right there. No. That is a child. That is a child. I don't give a shit if they're 5,000 years old. You cannot beat it off to a child. Okay? Let's send it off there. When my character existed... I fucked that up. Exited Vault 111... I wanted to be excited, but as soon as I saw some spooky shit, I saw more blood than I should in a Fallout game. I saw blood on the houses, on the street, and many other places. The only one thing that really spooked me, however, was that I saw 2 skeletons in sexual positions. I was so spooked that I had to put the game down and take a well-deserved rest from 12 hours of gaming. The next day at college. When I arrived at university the next day, that's when I knew I got into some deep shit with myself. I started to perceive everyone at God as feral ghouls. I thought the only thing I could do was to find something that could count as a weapon and kill everything in sight. I managed to find a strong, extra sharp pencil, and then I continued on to get the job done. After I killed every feral ghoul in the school, I saw dead students everywhere and realized what I had just done. I had committed one of the most edgiest crimes anyone could commit. I knew what I had to do. I had to run home and play some Fallout 4. The second session. When I played this time, I noticed something. The blood and gore in the game was more hyper-realistic than I remember in previous installments. Using the vats to take out some enemies revealed their skeletons when I saw their gore. It was spooky. What I saw next, however, would disturb me forever. I saw my waifu, Todd Howard, on the screen. He told me that I was playing Fallout 4, Edgy Blood Edition, and that playing this would cause me to see spooky shit for the rest of my life. Next, I heard sounds coming from upstairs. The end. Soon, I realized that my home was being raided by a SWAT team. They captured me and put me in a room. They used a time machine to take me to a place that would kill me. I saw dinosaurs everywhere. I realized that I got the death penalty for being a horrible person. The dinosaurs then began to brutally kill me. This edition of Fallout 4 is out there. Believe me, if you come across it, you're screwed as fuck. Do I even need to say anything about Fallout 4 Edgy Blood Edition? No, I really don't. Outside of the ending where apparently the SWAT has a time machine and they put him on the death penalty via dinosaur. And after the dinosaurs ate him, pretty much so he was able to still conclude his story, which, by the way, absolute Chad-based activities, but otherwise the lollies too, you already know what I said. No, it doesn't matter. I don't give a shit if the so-called lolly is 6,000 years old in question. It's still a child. It still looks like a child. So hence why you should not be doing anything sexually to, demean the child. But you know what, whatever. Otherwise, I would rate this story a 69 out of 10 just for brevity's sake of it being a Trollpasta. But just for the lollies alone, 0 out of 10. I'm sorry. Go fuck yourself. And to end it off here, we have another Fallout 3 story. Fallout 3, Pint-sized slasher. Once with my bad karma, I wanted to kill some residents in a town, like some kind of serial killer. And I really loved that shit. Well, I bombed Megaton down, so I decided to go to Arafu. That's where it starts to get creepy. I walked up to the bridge with one of the vamps from the Arafu quest standing there with his hands as fists instead of a gun. Well, in my serial killer attempt, I simply shot him. Suddenly, my character started to walk alone. I thought this was some kind of glitch or something. I still could use my gun, and when the old guard or sheriff or whatever of Arafu fired on me, I returned it. He died from a single headshot, and I felt pleasure as he dropped on the floor, his head rolling down the bridge. Well, my car moved on, and I couldn't control him, when suddenly the two corpses started to glow in a red light. Moments later, I fell down the bridge into my death. I closed the game after that without saving or anything. When I started over a couple days later, all my save games were gone, except for one. It was an autosave, most likely after my fast travel to Arafu. I loaded it, but it didn't spawn down the bridge, but at the spot where I died. I almost pissed my pants as I noticed the head of the old man lying next to me. Well, I could get back my reason and decided to go up to Arafu. When I came there, Much more bodies with red glow were lying all over the place, and in the middle of this, there was one person. The pint-sized slasher you used to be in Tranquility Lane when you were playing the evil path. I almost pissed my pants again at this, but I decided to go towards him. I pressed the key to interact with him. There was only a speech box without any sound, saying,
"You're next."
Then I saw the face of my in-game father twisted with pain. The game loaded and I suddenly spawned in Tranquility Lane, with all people slaughtered glowing in red, including the Chinese commandos from the failsafe. Although the rest had this classical black and white style from the level, then my Pip-Boy came up without its usual layout, but with this text.
What American child hasn't heard the story of the pint-sized slasher, that diminutive demon in a clown mask who stalks and slashes the innocent residents of supposedly safe suburbia? It's just one of the many folk stories parents use to scare their youngsters into behaving themselves. Or is it? According to Germantown Police Joseph Field, the pint-sized slasher may be more real than many people would like to admit.
After reviewing the autopsy results of the Linden Street slayings, we have confirmed that with the force in the direction of every knife wound are consistent with an attack from a much smaller assailant. A child, to be precise.
Add to the sinister forensic findings this statement from Christopher Atkinson, the one surviving victim of the adolescent assassin, it becomes clear that the pint-sized slasher does indeed walk among us. So see Among Us? I should game in myself after that. Voice crack too? Okay, we're fully cementing this. We're gonna game in my... The clown. The clown. He's going to kill us all. Do you understand me? You stabbed my brother Sean right in the face. You killed my brother. The little clown. But assuming the pint-sized slasher is indeed a real tangible threat to the peace-loving residents of DC suburbia, one question remains. Why? What could possibly motivate a child to don a clown mask and murder innocent people in cold blood? We may never know. At least not until the miniature maniac is brought to justice. Until then, all we can do is lock our doors, kiss our children goodnight, and pray they live to see the morning.
Damn, I was shocked when I read that Pip-Boy message. As soon as I closed my Pip-Boy, the death screens came up with a childlike, evil laugh in the background. I immediately closed the game and uninstalled it, instead of the normal, "You successfully deleted the game," or something like that. A message.
You are next anyway, even if you try to delete me.
Damn. I can't sleep since that shit. So, what is the verdict for Fallout 3 Pint-Sized Slasher? Now, personally to me, I feel like the most interesting bit of this story was the Pip-Boy message, as it kind of adds on its own lore of what the Pint-Sized Slasher's coexistence could be in the Fallout universe itself, which I find to be an interesting touch, but I'm pretty sure there's also coexisting lore to pretty much explain how the Pint-Sized Slasher became to be. But otherwise, though, a lot of the story elements, including, the idea of the guy kind of being an evil asshole in the sense that he just wants to kill people and then it kind of goes horribly awry in the sense. It just really seems like an unneeded detail because it doesn't really add on to the plot of the Pint-Sized Slasher. But even then, the Pint-Sized Slasher's inclusion in this story seems a little bit more contrived in the slightest, just to add him in there for the sake of, we need to give backstory to this character that is undoubtedly evil, even though you can already come to the assumption, if you played the games, and even with the name too, that yes, indeed, this is an evil character. But also the fact of which the ending of the story as well doesn't really have a stable conclusion, or it has a conclusion, but it's not a good one, in the fact that, when they go to uninstall said game, the pint-sized slasher, I assume, says that you are next anyway, even if you try to delete me, so I assume that it's going to come out of the TV or it's going to come out as a plush doll, etc, etc. But I would say this is a more marginally better story than Fallout 3 Crucified Nights, so I would have to give this at least a 5 at the bare minimum. I feel like if you're able to go with the idea, especially with the extended lore, or making your own lore of the pint-sized slasher in this universe, then by all means, it's a really great story detail. But also, some of the things could be a little bit more added for contextual reasons alone. But hey, I kind of enjoyed that more than, Fallout 3 Crucified Nights, and of course Trollpasta of Fallout 4 Itchy Blood Edition. But hey, we're gonna end it off here. I hope in some way or another you enjoyed the story narrations as much as I have, although admittedly the last two weren't all that good. But hey, what can you do? With that out of the way, I guess I'm supposed to say like and subscribe. But if you don't want to or don't feel like it, that's fine. I'm just glad you're here, spending time kicking it back in my digital hellscape of the internet, known as YouTube. And with that, I hope to see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.